and welcome everyone. My name is Akila Trene, and I am super excited about Black women writing children's book series. Specifically today, we have Miss CJ Charles, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. CJ is a native of Los Angeles. She is a writer, Spanish teacher, and educational consultant. From an early age, her mother taught her to read and appreciate books. CJ's been story writing since first grade. My Mom is a Superhero is a love letter to her mother and an ode to supermoms everywhere. She hopes you enjoy getting to know her characters and her debut children's book. So welcome.
That was so good.
And I have the book here, yes.
Love it. Thank you so much. Hello. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this series, and it's just so wonderful what you're doing. So thank you. We really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you accepting the invitation. And for those who may not know, CJ and I go way back to teaching together to the classroom, and just to see the growth and just seeing like another peer friend making moves and not illustrating but publishing a children's book. I love it, and I love to empower other Black women, and I know that in an industry like this it is not the easiest thing to do, so it's really important for us to kind of work together and network and hold each other up. So in the spirit of all of that, and I know that you enjoy all things wellness and mental health and things of that nature. So I have these cards. They're called Empowering Questions.
Excellent.
And the Empowering Questions is like a deck of 52 cards, which is something that, you know what, honestly, we can create something like this. You can create something like this. Look, okay.
Done.
So you use the cards basically for meditation, for writing, and with any other empowering process that you like. And with the help of the cards, you can examine your deeper self, discover and release your inner strength, and bring more energy into your life. So I wanted to start the interview with good energy. I chose a card at random, so it is written as if the question is written directly to you. And I will read it aloud. It says, what is the most important thing for me in this moment?
Do you mean like today in my life or in this moment as you're right?
You can answer however you interpret the question.
The most important thing to me right now in this moment is to be happy and healthy. I'm just really into right now, happiness is something I will not sacrifice in any realm of my life. So right now it's all about being happy and the health that comes with making sure that you're happy and you feel good and things like that. So that's where I am right now.
Awesome. And so how do you feel like you got to that point? Because what I think that came out of the pandemic for a lot of people was a lot of time for self-reflection. Maybe some people kind of had to deal with maybe death in ways that they didn't anticipate prior. And I know that there are a lot of people who appreciate the very things that you mentioned, like health and happiness, in a different light. And as a result of that, are starting to take different steps. So I'm wondering, did this come out of the pandemic? Did it come before? What got you to this point where those elements are the most important?
I find for myself that for me, it started maybe about 10 years ago. Maybe after 30-ish or so, I just started realizing that I was giving everything I had into everyone else, always pouring into my energy, my time, my creativity, everything about me I was giving to someone else, whether that was students or administration or family members. It was never really about me in terms of making sure that I was completely happy with what I was doing, what I was saying, how I was feeling. I decided with the pandemic, it was like, oh, this is a great time because I'm not needed. I don't feel like I need to pour into others because, it was really about isolation and me by yourself. So I had time to figure out, what do I really enjoy doing? What brings me the most joy? When I'm doing nothing, what does that nothing consist of? And why does it make me so happy? So that's really so it had been building for years, but once I sat still, then I was able to say, oh man, So old folks is right when they say go sit down somewhere, because it's really important.
Right.
Go sit down somewhere and just settle. Just go sit down somewhere. And that's when I decided I really wanted to be happy in life. COVID also reminded people, you don't know how long you have. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know what 30 minutes from now will bring. So why not be happy right now and in this moment? Because you can't. This is all we have is this moment right now. So
absolutely. Absolutely. And so one of the things that I always appreciate, right? So as I share with everyone that I meet, like even in education, but I believe I shared this with you even when we first met years ago, is that I always wanted to be fluent in Spanish. Like that was like my goal. Like when I tell you I took Spanish in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, Duolingo, Rosetta Stone, like I really have no excuses. I should be fluent. I'm my own excuse. I am my own barrier because I limit myself. You know what I mean? Like in moments where I can use Spanish, I hesitate, the fear kicks in, and then I just use English. But before we even get to the book, how did you get into Spanish? Do you have Spanish heritage? Did you learn it? And then like, what is your Spanish fluency story?
Okay, so this is a story people are always curious about, but no one ever really wants to know. Okay, so the whole Spanish journey for me started long before I could speak. Okay, so we were living in an inner city when I was younger, and my mother needed a babysitter. And the only person who could babysit early in the morning, like literally 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, because she was trying to be into nursing and nursing school, was the lady next door, Maria, who didn't speak English at all. She only spoke Spanish. And so she saw my mother trying to work it out with two little girls in the morning. And as moms, they connected. And somehow she got, I don't even know how, but somehow my mom decided to leave me with her. And so as my language and all the synapses in my brain were forming, that first 5, I believe in the first 5 wholeheartedly. I'm a living testament to the first 5. So as that was happening, I'm learning English at home with my mom and my older sister, whenever we're together. And then I'm with Maria and Angelita, which is really their real names, complete Spanish. And so it became the thing where Angelita could come spend the night at our house, and we were allowed at her house, which is weird because my mother, she wasn't one of those kinds of open door moms. She was closed door. So whatever Maria had said to her, somehow they communicated. So I'm at home asking for leche. My mom was like, yo, I don't know what leche is, point to it. Let me, my mom didn't speak Spanish.
Right.
So that happened for about 2 or 3 years. And then as I was ready to go to American preschool, we're still in America, but as I'm ready to go to English preschool, then we had teachers that were from the islands. So then we would have, and this again is under 5 years old, then they would teach us songs in French and Farajaka. And so I'm sitting on the rug clapping. So not only have I gotten English indoctrination, I've had Spanish, those vowels and things like that. And now I'm getting French. So that part of my brain just got activated long before I went to traditional school. And so that's why I'm so big on people, even if you don't think the child is getting the music or the language, just because they're not responding, it doesn't mean it's not getting stuck back here, because for me, it got stuck back here. So after preschool, I didn't have foreign language. Oh, and then then kindergarten. So again, it's all in Los Angeles. We had a student named Enrique. He was in my class for years. And I didn't know that now as an adult, I know they were from the Dominican Republic. I had no, when I was a kid, we had no, Enrique looked like me. His mom looked like me. They were chocolatey, but his mom would come. And I remember we would run up to her and she would teach us words like chocolate, agua, amiga. Every day she would come to pick him up and we would scurry to her and she'd tell us a new word. And we were like, chocolate. So then I got language again, right? In such an organic, natural way. I didn't have to sit in a classroom and someone say, you're going to memorize this and you're going to learn this, which is what we have to do now. We can't have those, and it drives me crazy in the classroom. So I don't know. I just think that's just been like a theme of my life, has been language learning. So then as I went ahead and got forward in school, by the time I left private school, went to public school, we had Spanish, not until getting to the 7th grade. And it was so easy for me. And I didn't know why it was easy for me. My teacher was, she just thought it was great. Oh, look at her. She knows all. I was like, chocolate latte. Yeah, you are. always fun to me because I just knew the words and I didn't remember why. And so my mother reminded me in junior high. Sorry, I would say middle school now. In junior high, she was
it's junior high to me, but yeah.
How old are we? Middle school. She reminded me. She's like, "What do you mean you know how you don't know the words?" Maria and she reminded me, and I was like, oh, "I remember Farajaka, and and I remembered all of that." And I was like, "Man, thank you, thank you, because it lit something for me that's been a theme of my life, and that's given me prosperity, and I've been able to take care of myself because of the skills that someone gave me, literally in infancy. So it's that's how. And then eventually I moved to Costa Rica, and I lived there in my 20s, but. The real story is it started when I was under 1 year old. That's when it really started.
Wow, like that.
I never told you that.
No, and I think like as you were talking, so it's so many different things went through my head. Having a 2-year-old daughter, I want her, to be fluent in another language, specifically Spanish and any other language that she chooses that she wants to be fluent in. But it makes sense, like what you were saying, like she may not have all of the words now, but she hears it, right? She hears it when she's at daycare and all of that. But that gives me great joy to know, like later on, if she were to maybe like be surrounded by a little more, that she might have a little more. And she has great recall. Like her recall is like, because I introduce her to books. I read to her all the time. Like I'm all about literacy and understanding and word acquisition, all of that, because it's so important. And then when I went to, because I've always had this like innate kind of desire to want to be around people that look like me. And I mean, like, I'm talking about deep, like going to Africa, the roots. Like I felt like if I were to go there, I would just break down in tears, just being able to see a place that people, that just hear about or like read about it, or whatever. So when I went to Las Palmas for the first time in 2009. So that was the first time me traveling like internationally. And that's when I got that bug of like, oh no, I need to travel every year. And I saw, and just as you described, brown people that look like me. And I'm like, well, how do they know Spanish? I was like, wait a minute. Why don't I? No, I was mad. I was mad and then just shocked and just elated all at the same time. And then I realized, and that's what I mean by like when it goes deep, like just looking back at our roots and our history and our heritage and all that stuff. And like really just was learning like, wow, how closely language and culture and all those things are interconnected. Because I've been to Costa Rica, you see people like who look like you there. You go to the Dominican Republic, you see people who look like you there. And it's like, well, the majority of us didn't end up in America. We ended up in all of these other places, and many of them Spanish speaking countries.
Well, I can offer some. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
So one thing I'm also really interested in is my ancestry. I am huge on who I am, how to get here, who are my parents' and I'm blessed to have both parents who's still alive, which everyone doesn't have. Right. So I've been on, I won't swab my cheek. I won't even get into why I won't do that. I won't swab my cheek, but I have an ancestry.com account. They're not sponsoring us. And so just to pull it all back together with the Spanish. So I think it was my 17th great grandmother. She was the daughter. Okay, so Spain owned parts of Louisiana. Both my parents are from Louisiana. Mm-hmm. So Spain owned Louisiana at one time, right? Everyone owned Louisiana at some point, right? Before it became part of the U.S. So my 17th great grandmother was the daughter of the plantation owner who was from Spain. So if I really go all the way back, my 17th great grandmother was a Rodriguez with an S, and Spanish has been a theme in my bloodline for many, many years. So when I saw that, I was like, because if it ends in a Z, a Rodriguez ends in a Z, it's usually Mexican, Mexican ancestry. When last names end with an S, they usually are Spanish ancestry. That's what I learned. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy. So the plantation owner's daughter, and she was fully educated. She was a woman of color. She was free, and she went on to be a landholder and all kind of stuff like that. So, but her Spanish, Jesus, like I was reading some old documents. So it's like, we have the golden age of English literature. geez, they have the golden age in Spanish, and it's a whole set of. I was like, what? Yay, lay? What is it? But know that theme really has been in the bloodline for decades and generations. And somehow I picked it back up. No one else in my immediate family, the last 2 or 3 generations, they're not Spanish speakers. If anything, they spoke French. We're from New Orleans, so a lot of cher and le bon role, something they always say when we go to New Orleans. Let the good times roll. But yeah, languages has been a theme, and I hope that if I ever have kids, that they also will continue on the acquisition. It connects people. It connects you in so many ways. I enter rooms, and just by me looking at someone accidentally, they know in my eyes that I understood what they said, and it's an instant connection. And it's that, it's, I don't know, it's like the dopest thing. Besides learning to read and be self-sufficient, is one of the dopest gifts I've been given by my creator. And so I'm very grateful for that.
And how powerful is that? Like, even like they say, like, knowledge is power. And I believe it in the sense of knowledge of self is like power for you to be able to like know who you are and what your purpose is and what your gifts are, and be able to walk in that. Like, nobody can then on the outside of that come and tell you what you can and can't do, because you know who you are. So it's just that power in knowledge and understanding and who you're connected to in your ancestry and all those gifts. So really thank you for like even bringing that out and sharing that moment, because I'm always like inspired, like, and reminded, this is and understanding that, because I know, certain things, even when I speak with my grandmother, with the things that she's trying to do, and she's 95, trying to write, and she's working on a book right now, and just talking about entrepreneurship and just how certain things are like heavy in your lineage, as you were talking about. And sometimes people are like, I don't know how I just fell into this. Like, no, like, actually you were destined, for
you were destined for it. But see, no one talks about it, because, and I don't think people are hiding it from you, but they have so many other things, especially as African Americans in the last, 100, 200 years. There's so many other things that take priority on top of entrepreneurship and those special skills that just make you unique. I mean, my grandmother's father, my great-great-grandfather, they owned a restaurant in New Orleans. They sold insurance. My great-grandfather was a gardener. I mean, before, people think gardeners look one particular ethnic. No. American men were gardeners and always worked for themselves, custodians. I mean, it's just, my bloodline is it is an amazing collage of hard work and self-sustainability, and get up and get it done, and work for yourself, and you can do it. But when you don't talk about it, people think they're alone. Like, I'm like, well, who wrote a book? Okay, I don't know anybody yet who wrote a book, but I have my little younger cousins. Now they want to put together comic books, and now they want to write. And one of my younger cousins, she just started doing her own hair braiding business, because, my other cousin started, exercise company. Because I'm sitting here struggling myself, trying to figure it out. And they're like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm trying to figure out how to finish this book, how to find an illustrator, and they're like, oh, you can do it. And I'm like, oh, so people are watching. That's what I
absolutely. People are watching. Absolutely. That is, okay. So many things to talk about, but I want to talk about, my mother is a superhero. Mi mamá es una superheroína.
Hey, got it.
Okay, I practiced a little bit. I'm just how did we get here, CJ? Like, how did we get here? I'm assuming the superhero, of course, is your mother. As you even spoke briefly about, even just in what mothers have to do just to make sure that they can keep a home, keep food on the table, and all those different things. And we're here. So tell me all about it.
So I started writing this book about 15 years ago, and I just wanted to say thank you I want to say thank you. I didn't, my mother isn't overly emotional. She doesn't, she doesn't really need cards. She's not into holidays. I was like, well, dang, lady, is there anything that would make you be like, oh, thank you? And I just wanted to also remember what she had done, because a single parent, sometimes it is hard on the kids as well. But there were lots of times that were fun, and I thought she was cool, and she could make Halloween costumes in the middle of the night, and she just could do everything that I just assumed that superheroes could do. So one of the things growing up in the 80s, one of my favorite shows, and it's still today, was Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman would spin, Linda Carter would spin, and I would spin when she would spin. I almost knocked myself out one day, no lie. And I was like, oh man, like Linda Carter, and then there was the Bionic Woman. So I grew up with all these images of women who, they just did like dope stuff. And then I saw it in my own household. Like, I know my mom didn't have a lot of money because I saw her doing figuring, and the figuring came out to like almost $0. But then we have all this food on the table.
Right.
Where did she get food from? And she know I wanted to have like, a Halloween costume. So she stayed up late to try and glue cotton balls on some construction paper to give me a little headband, because that's all we could, you know what I mean? So I have these Bionic Woman, Super Wonder Woman things going on. And then I see it in my own household. So to me, it was a no-brainer to mesh the two together, because they're my two favorite things, my mom and even to this day, I love a good DC Comics. So I started writing, and I've actually wrote the book about 8 times. I started writing about 15 years ago, and I wrote it and I wrote it and I wrote it, and I was never happy with it. I didn't like it. It was boring, and I didn't even want to read it myself. So I just I kept writing it until it felt like this is it. And it wasn't until the end of the beginning of the pandemic, I had some free time, and I was like, I used to go to bookstore all the time, and I would go to the children's section to see which books I liked. Which, as an adult, which books are eye-catching to me? Which ones do I want to read? And I forgot as a kid, the books I always liked were the books that rhymed. Right. Unless it was a chapter book. Chapter books, Sweet Valley High, that's different. Right. But I like do you remember the Babysitter's Club?
I do. Absolutely.
I read those with joy and glee in my heart. But no, I wanted to write a book that rhymed. So I literally came back, and I literally had about 8 versions, different years on the computer. I deleted all of them. I didn't want to take anything from them. And I saw from when I would teach, when the kids would work on quizzes and stuff like that, I actually in the back of the room sketching out what I thought each page would look like. And I can't draw. So they were all stick figures, triangles, circles, lines. And I found my notes from when I taught at the district that we came from. I found my notes, and it still didn't rhyme, but I was like, well, these are some good lines. And I'm like, well, how can we make this line more interesting? So I literally sat on the floor during the pandemic and finished making it rhyme and made it interesting. And I had more pages than I thought I would have. And then came finding an illustrator. Okay, I don't think people want my stick figures. I don't think that's going to be a seller. It's not going to get me on the bestseller list. So I literally was I told the universe, this is what we were doing. Right. And literally, I'm on Instagram. I type it up and I throw it across the floor. I did a notebook because I was like, I'm so tired of this book. And literally, I'm on Instagram, and the illustrator popped up. It was within maybe an hour. It popped up after I committed to doing it. And I said, I'm gonna give her a try. Like I loved what I saw. She had done characters of color already. She jumped off the page to me. Like, I knew that this was my person. I had already gone through and paid about 6 illustrators in years past. And the pictures were great, but it wasn't it. Like, I just knew it. I was like, no, this is fine. I've had it in watercolors. I've had it computer generated. I've had it hand. I've had every conceivable version of it, and they were all great, but it wasn't it. Yeah. And literally, she popped off the screen. We got on a call. She lives in the Philippines. We got on the call. This is all in one night. Okay, I finished the book in one night, found an illustrator in one night, jumped on a call with her because of the time difference. We could do that. And she told me how much it cost. I said, well, can I give you some of it? Right. A good illustrator is not cheap.
No, it's not.
But it's worth it. And she knocked those illustrations out. And the crazy part is I had been typing exactly what I wanted to be on each page. So when she said, well, do you have any idea? Do I have any idea? I got like 15 years of ideas. I'm ready, lady. And I had put it in Spanish. And I have an editor. My editor lives in Argentina, actually. I have an editor here in New Jersey, and then I have an editor in Argentina. They both check my grammar in both languages. But it was just, I knew it. I just knew that this was like everything. Like, it was this time. Like, I was like, I'm ready to share this and get this out. And it was a crazy process, but it was so awesome because now my juices are going and my brain is flowing, and I'm really excited.
Right. And so I know that with self-publishing or independently publishing, that there is a process that everyone uses, right? So some people can use like hybrid publishers. Some people go through every single step on their own, and then other people can take that leap of faith and query for an agent. And so what was the actual process that you went through in order to make this book happen?
So I wanted to, as an actress, right, psych actress, I wanted to naturally find an agent and have them take care of all that stuff. I was like, can I just hire someone? You can take 10%. Can you just do the rest of it for me? And just let me know when it posts to Amazon. Just let me know when I can tell everybody my book's out.
Right.
And it did not work that way. I submitted the cover and the manuscript to so many different published. No one was interested. Not one. One lady got me a little excited. I thought, oh, I'm so close to distribution. No, like nobody at all were interested. And so I did about maybe 20 something. Even some bookstores weren't even interested in carrying it. A lot of bookstores weren't interested in carrying it. And I was like, it's a kid's book. And they, no. And so I decided I was going to move forward with the project. So I went ahead and I found editors who would edit for, a flat, work for hire, which is really important when you're on a really fixed budget.
Right.
I found a company who would bind it, print it, ship it out. The hardest part was trying to understand the UPC and the ISBN and how to get that on the back. And that was challenging. But I have to say my illustrator helped out a lot, because if you get the right illustrator, they have experience formatting and putting it all together. And so had it not been for my illustrator already been being professional, I would have struggled a little bit more. But the challenging part was just making sure there were no errors. So I actually had to print the book 6 times, because each time there was an error. After they would print the sample copy and send it, I get excited.
Yes.
Oh, the sample copy's here. And I'm like, because every time they send out a sample copy, that costs money. And I was like, you share something so long, you can't see the errors anymore.
You are correct.
Your brain is like, oh, no, that's right. And I get it back and I'm like, how did I not see this again? So that part I think was the most expensive and the most challenging part. But once you get your idea typed up, I say the next thing that you need to run, not walk, is to get your item copywritten. After you get your idea, before you start sharing it with the world and bragging, and I'll get your stuff copywritten. However you want to do that, whether you have a intellectual property attorney, whether you want to go to LegalZoom or any other websites to go ahead and get that done, or do it by yourself. And then you want to get an editor. You want to get 2 editors. You want to get 2 editors to look at it. Editor number 1. And then you take that, you get editor number 2 to look at it again, and then if you want to put it, and I tell everybody, put their books in Spanish, put them in French, put them in Chinese. I'm actually, once I get through the next few books, I'm going to go back and do a second release in Chinese and French. I'm going to try and do all 3 in the same book. But there's people online who want to translate your material. Do I speak Spanish? Yes. Can I write the words? Yes. But I still need someone to correct it. Like I said, my Spanish corrector is in Argentina. She's amazing. Right.
Likewise, I taught English, but I dare not edit my own book, because the difference is that it's an actual profession. It's a profession. Like, people learn and go to school to do this professionally as their career. And so if you're just a wordsmith and you just love the language, it's not your career. So you should find somebody else to do that professionally for you. It's just, it's necessary.
It's so necessary. Actually, I did have, it's so funny you say that. So I did, before I found my editors, I did have former colleagues who I trust implicitly. I said, one is an English teacher and one was my colleague, a Spanish teacher. I said, can you guys just read over this? Does this even sound like something people? And I just needed them to read over it. I didn't want them to grade it. I just wanted to read over it. And then I went and found the professional editors. I went to Fiverr.com. I mean, look, if you're on a budget, that's the way to go. But I think self-publishing for me was, especially for this, I needed to learn the process. I really needed to get behind it and understand, because I know in years to come, someone else will be doing that for me. But I need to know what the process is. I need to know how the pages turn, how the how many pages will, make a hardcover book, how many pages are soft cover, which one's more durable.
Right.
It's frustrating, but I need to know that, because this is my book, but it's my business. And I decided that, that's what I'm doing from now until.
Absolutely. What I love about that is, so what you just expressed and explained is literally why, and So I have Revision Publishing, right? But it wasn't really about like, oh, I want to publish other people's works per se. It was like, I don't want to be another Simon and Schuster. Like that wasn't my goal. Now, if that's what ends up being in the pathway later on, okay, you know, I'm open to certain things, but I really wanted to, because I come from education, is I wanted to be able to educate people on the process, because I know a lot of people would ask, and I would like send them pictures of what I use in my process and like send it off. And then I'm like, I don't even know if that information is still accurate now, because when I first published was in 2016 versus like publishing in 2021 is totally different. And so I then during the pandemic was like, I'm putting my whole head, body, and soul into learning about this industry. And out of that, creating a course, because I felt like, okay, well, that's the new way that people are learning. People are not necessarily wanting to like go and sit in a class and learn. People are consuming so much through the internet and online. So it's like, why don't I create a course, you know, online to help teach and
inform
and show people how to independently publish, or if you want to go through the route of traditionally publishing, like understanding what that process is before you kind of get into it. Because we know as you go through the trial and error, that you spend money that you're like, dang, if I would have known this before, I could have saved myself time. I could have saved myself money there. Like, oh, I just did all this backwards. Like, oh, shoot. Like, you know, I know for the next time how to do it better. And so a lot of people end up going through that process, you know, but nobody is really like teaching you, or, you know, the same way you would get like a mentor to say like, okay, and how you talked about how your, you know, nieces and nephews and students and just younger people are watching. You know, we have, as another friend of mine reminded me, like, we are aunties and uncles now. We are the elders, right? That we looked up to when we were children. Like, we are them. And I think sometimes it's hard for us to embrace and like realize that, like, because we still feel like we're growing and learning, where it's like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to impart in you. And we do it naturally as teachers. But like, if you step outside of the teacher role, like, people are really looking up to say like, how do I do this? What should I do? Give me some advice, lead me in the right way. And so it's really just embracing that now and being able to like take that knowledge and information and share it with other people, specifically our community, because I believe that we have so many stories, so much to tell, that if we don't tell it, somebody else is going to tell our story for us, and they're going to tell it falsely. So we have to have the power, the understanding, the knowledge in order to mention intellectual property, to own it. So that when you want to tell our story, now you need my permission and the rights to be able to tell it, because we've taken the proper steps in advance in order to position ourselves in a way that we do have that power.
I find that, and I what I'm going to say does not limit other cultures from being a part of it. Okay, I'm just speaking just as a woman of color, a Black woman in America. I find that Black people in America are some of the most creative people I've ever met. Not saying nobody else is, so nobody comes. I'm saying I see it in the class. I've seen it for years in the classroom, where they're, Black children are making a beat from tapping their pencil, and it becomes a whole 16 bars around the room. I have seen just the way Black women get dressed and how they put the colors together and how they move and how Black men walk, and the dances that we grow up making literally outside to entertain ourselves, right? No dance classes. You just like, this move feels kind of cool. It looks kind of dope, you know? But no one ever, so people encourage that. Like, they're like, go girl, you know, oh, she's a great stylist, blah, blah. But, you know, they hype up that part. But no one ever reminds you to protect what it is that you're doing. And that's the part for me that every time somebody asks me about an idea I have, or that they have and they want to run it by me, I'm like, do you have a non-disclosure agreement? People are like, you're crazy. No, I'm serious. My mentor tells a great story, and she's fantastic. She tells a story about she had a meeting with McDonald's, a particular book thing that she was doing. It wound up at McDonald's, and it was another woman of color. And so she thought they were having an informal conversation about an idea that she had. She was working on an idea. So she just spoke her idea. And very soon McDonald's took her idea and they moved forward with it. But because she hadn't protected her idea, she had no legal standing to say, this was my idea.
That was mine. Mm-hmm.
That was mine. Basically, that's mine.
You stole it.
Mine. You stole. That's mine. And that really stayed with me because I was like, wow, how often do we just free talk and we just free record and free post and free this? But somebody's like, oh man, let me legal zoom that really fast, or let me trademark that. I have copyright, the U.S. Copyright and Patent Office. Those are things that we need to be investing our money and time in, because that's going to give us our generational wealth. That's going to give us longevity. Those are the types of things that are going to outlive us. And that goes into our, our little fund for those who come behind us, whether it's our own children, our family members, or whatever. Or whether they just want to give that copyright to someone else, a school or something. I don't know, our foundation. But those are the types of things when people talk about generational wealth. For me, they're not just talking about stocks and bonds and actual hard cash. It's also those literary ideas and those creative ideas that your great grandparents had that you can still benefit from today if they would protect the idea and get the copyright, get the patent, get the whatever. Even if it's something you think is nothing, like the title of the book, My Mother is a Superhero. Well, I can, I have to protect that name because there's other superhero books, but they don't say my mother. It's like my mom, my mommy. Right. But, as soon as you start developing, I can go on and on, but I just think it's so important for us to protect our creativity in all forms, in all, the young lady who did the TikTok video who didn't get any credit for it. I was so heartbroken for her because, do you know what I'm talking about, of the young African-American girl?
Who did the one for Savage, or is this another girl?
I don't remember what the song was, but whatever her choreography was, I always want to do that.
I think that was the Savage one. And then later on, she ended up, right?
Yeah, you have a Caucasian young lady who makes the TV circuit and makes over $1 million within, I think, 2 weeks off of her doing the dance that the little black girl created. And I'm like, you can copyright choreography. So the time that it would have taken for someone to sit at a computer, give them an hour to copyright that, your idea would have been protected and she would have owed you. But who knew to tell her that? Who in her community had gone through the process that you're talking about, that we're talking about right now, and say, let's protect that idea? How many songs can you think of you've come about off the top of your head as a little, just little black kid? You just the beats, you just bam. Right. We have to protect all of that because other people are watching, right? Going back to we're saying people are watching, and they're like, oh, that's brilliant. But they have the means and the knowledge and the attorneys and whatever else to protect your idea.
Not to mention the fact that because of TikTok, it was just the other day I was looking at one, I guess he's an influencer, comedian, whatever. He had made up a song, which seemed like on the spot, recorded it. And then with TikTok, you can do the duet where you take whatever is already recorded and then you kind of do the same thing, or you use the audio and reuse it and everything. And so his song, I saw it maybe the day prior, and then the next day it had gone viral with someone doing a duet to it. And I don't know, if it was protected or any of those things, but it's very relevant to what you're saying, that it's just that easy. You think that you're just posting something, this cool idea, and somebody who literally makes their money by other people's mishaps, search the internet.
Ignorance, no.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Heavy. It's heavy. So for me, that's also been one of the biggest lessons. I want to embrace my creativity and myself as a writer, because I do consider myself a writer now. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to be a smart writer. I need to be intelligent because this is a business. And again, that goes back to entrepreneurship, right? And your mindset and all that kind of stuff. So it's so much to discuss. It's so much.
I know, right? So kind of on the same lines of, being a Black woman in America who's written a book that is in English and Spanish, how has your journey been with sharing the book with other communities, and how has the book and how have you been received in that space?
So among family and friends, the reception's been amazing. Tons of friends have children, boys and girls, and they've all wanted a copy. So I've been like, so thank you guys so much. Thank you for your support. But I have gotten the biggest amount of support from teachers of foreign language, and then also Latin teachers, Latinx teachers have bought and used the book in a variety of ways. I have one colleague who lives in Chicago. She's a foreign language teacher. She's amazing. She has made a whole lesson plan out of the book, and she's showing other teachers how to use the book in their classroom for Spanish 1. So and she's made worksheets, which are hers. Those are hers, I told her. But I've just been like, wow, like, you're the best. Like, this is so cool. But I haven't been able to get that same reception in the African-American community outside of educators. African-American educators, yes. But African-American parents, outside of people who already know me, no, not so much. They haven't received it. And I don't know if it's because they're intimidated by the Spanish at the bottom, because it does come with a lot of, what's the word? When you see English and Spanish, it comes with a lot of preconceived ideas and notions as to who the audience is. And so I try and open the inside of the book sometimes so people can see it's in English and Spanish. Right. I'm not sure how people outside of the educational community or a bilingual community are processing it, but I've tried to market on multiple African American sites, and it just hasn't had the same reception as I'm on the Latin sites, the Latinx sites. We're like, oh man, I got a copy, I need to get a copy, and I've been ordering, on my email within 20, 30 minutes. So I'm a little disappointed, but I think the more interviews I do and the more sharing of myself and how the book came to be, I think that'll open it up to a wider audience, because I'm not sure if people know how to take it or what to do with it. I'm like, it's just a book, but I can see how if someone if they don't have that travel background, if they don't have that urge to, right. They could be like, that was an unexpected consequence. I didn't know that, right. That they wouldn't be interested.
And I think that is just like a part of the journey, as well, yes. That like your intention and then how certain things may be received is kind of like, whoa, okay, I wasn't expecting that one. Like, right. Okay, that's like,
you got that? I'm like,
a little different. And I think it's humbling sometimes at times, and then other times it's like, okay, I won't focus, too much there. Like I'll get it, I'll receive it, and then I'll say, okay, well, I'm gonna keep moving forward. And it's like, you continue to put all that energy in the places where it's working, in the places where it's being received, and kind of like eventually, right, it'll come around, and then when you are welcome, it's like, I'm not gonna be like, nah, because you didn't want me in the first place.
Right. I'm like,
now I'm having you all on me, like. But it'll be like, okay, welcome. And now here are some access points. These are ways to be able to engage with it. Yes. Or like, what are some of your apprehensions so that I can show you ways to support? Because again, I feel like all of this ends up being teachable moments, right? And it comes back to just learning and knowledge and understanding. And what I always say, literacy. You know what I mean? Because that's literally what it's all about. So even with any book that I'm putting out or pushing, it's like, even if the content doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Or if you're not experiencing what the content of the book is, guess who can read it? Kids can read it, right? And if it's not on their reading level, they can learn the words, right? So that they know what those words mean later. I share this because in one of the reviews that someone did for the book that I put out, they were talking about, like, I don't think that the character, because the character is my daughter, right? I don't think that she would know how to, she wouldn't use those words, right? She wouldn't understand that well. And in my head, I was thinking, like, one, you don't know my child. You're putting a lot of assumptions on her. And even if she, and the limitations, and she understands, she knows what the words, she may not be able to fully pronounce them yet. She's 2.5. My daughter will know what those words mean. She will understand all of that, at 3. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I can take that and I can say, oh, let me use more baby friendly, kid friendly language. And then I'm like, but no, because how I speak to her, all the words that I'm using in the book is how I talk to her every day. And that's what I want her to know and understand. as she gets older, because just like you said, that 0 to 5, like I'm trying to make sure that I can all that I can, you know, because I don't want her trying to learn what the word prepared means or affirmations means when she's 16. And now I'm trying to break it down like, okay, prepared me, you know, like, no, she's going to already know what affirmations mean. So when she hears them, she's going to be able to say, okay, I can give you an affirmation. I can speak some affirmations. I can, you know.
Yes.
Oh.
I think it's knowledge. So one of the websites, companies, what have you, that I was advertising my book on, who solicited to me. So, you know, they wanted, you know, snippets of the book, and then they wanted my explanation. And so I gave them a snippet, and then I would give them the English and the Spanish equivalent. I did about 4 or 5 of those, and I, you know, made sure they were all grammatically correct, and I sent them off to the lady who requested them. But when they posted them, I saw that they took out all the Spanish that I had included. And I thought that was very presumptive of them, because I was like, you're assuming that your predominantly African-American audience is monolingual. But if you had done your research or even just put out a poll, you might be surprised at how many people identify as African-American or Black who are multilingual, who are bilingual, trilingual, especially if they're from the island, especially if they're not native born, especially parents, second generation. And so I was like, wow. So that's when I realized that in many communities, African-American communities, the Spanish is off-putting to people for some goofy reason. And I think it's for a lack of knowledge. So people assume that I don't speak Spanish, so my kid can't learn it. Oh, well, actually, you just say the word the best of your ability. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop making assumptions about literacy and understanding, like the word affirmation. I knew the word conspicuous when I was 5 years old. My mother's like, how do you know the word conspicuous? I said, oh, well, I had heard someone saying it, and I asked them what it meant. And I decided that was my big word of the year. I wanted to use conspicuous every single moment I got.
Right.
So how can you imagine a little 5-year-old? Well, that looks conspicuous, you know. But I've always loved language.
It's like, girl, shut your mouth. Don't be cursing.
Right. Right. You're like, right. There's a 5-year-old in the hood. That's quite conspicuous. But I was also reading, this is the craziest part. So going back to literacy, I was also reading Charles Dickinson when I was 9 years old. 8, 9 years old, I'm reading at Christmas, you know, with my teacher, who said to me, wow, CJ, you can read a little bit, your understanding is a little bit higher, so let me push you and let me press you even more. I mean, reading The Hobbit by the time I was 12, and, you know, it's all these classics that, and this is just things I'm reading at home in the hood. So for what you said resonated with me about someone limiting what her understanding would be, because you would be surprised what someone's brain, what they can do without when you don't put limits on them. And, oh, well, that's impossible. No, actually it isn't. I've seen it happen.
And the other piece is it's also fictional, right? So there is creativity, right, that can happen. And even if this is my assumption of what she's thinking, you know, going through this process, but it's just interesting how technical sometimes people get when it comes to children's books. And what I found is I have a different interpretation as an adult, right? As an educated adult, I might look at something and I have that interpretation. This book wasn't written for me. It was written for my child. And so every book that I review, you know, as author to another author, you know, for the reviews, because we know that's part of like the process, the whole game, right? I read it with her. And I allow her to dictate what my review is, because if my child loves it and she's engaging and she likes the pictures and she likes the rhyme, like, who am I to be like, well, you used a different word that I wouldn't have used, you know? Right. And so as a result of that, I am taking off a star. And I'm like, but my child enjoyed the book. And so sometimes, you know, it's just, it's for children. And sometimes we don't allow children to be able to enjoy in those spaces because it's for them. So I'm like, okay, you know me, I love Spanish. So of course I'm going to read you the book and I'm going to read it. And you know what I mean? And then my daughter is going to take it and she's going to try and pretend like she's reading it too. And you know, the end, you know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, she's able to engage with it. She's able to access it because I'm like, and then I'm also like, well, nobody's around to tell me I'm saying it wrong. Right. Anyway, so therefore, I said it right.
You like it?
I said it right, you know.
Right.
So it was fun. It was really fun for me to read it with her, and I actually need to pull it out and read it some more. We have so many books that I'm like, okay, no, we need to put that one back into the rotation. Just again, so that she has that. But honestly, I will probably need to get another one because you just made me think of at her daycare. They have books there and they have story time, and because her daycare provider is a Spanish speaker, like she could definitely read it in the middle tomorrow. So yeah, I need to get another one.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Let me talk over you. You just reminded me of something. So one of the amazing people who are supporting the book, it's a young lady. Her company is called Mija Books. And she actually read my book in English and Spanish on her Storytime channel, so I can send you out the link. So I'm super excited to have someone else read it in a different voice, because it's so interesting to hear it from someone else's
yes.
So strange. But one thing I love about reading and writing, and I want to emphasize this, is the creativity that we get to have. I am naturally I don't use the word silly because silly sounds bad, but I'm a silly person by nature. One of my favorite things to do is to laugh and to think like how the situation could become funnier if someone only did this, or I think about these things as people are talking to me. I'm like, if your nose was green and your eye was bigger than the other, that would be more entertaining right now. Like people are mad at me too, and I'm thinking, if I just had like a little, I could just draw on your face. And I'm like, So when I write, I get to go there. I do have some serious things that I'm writing, just about a Black educator, but I love writing the children's books because literally on my computer, I have about 14 ideas on Post-its right here. And I've half written about 14 other books. And I get to be as silly and imaginative and creative as I don't get to be in my real world.
Yes.
Because as an adult, what happens when you turn after 25, you're supposed to be super serious and nothing is funny. You're not supposed to like randomly break out and dance. Things that I like, that's what I was at 6. That is who I really am. Like, even when I dance around the class, when people think I'm trying to be funny, no, the rhythm just really hit me. Like Gloria Esteban told me. And I was like, oh, wait, it's not about you. I really felt it in my spirit right there. And writing allows me to go back to her, who's happy, creative, and I get to see the world so differently. So like when I see children and they're being goofy in public and weird, I'm like, ooh, this is a new character for my book. And I'm like, I wonder what else this crazy kid does when no one else is around. And so I get to imagine my mind, and I just get to go there. And it's so cool because, you're supposed to be a teacher and you're supposed to always look.
That was my misconception. I was like, I have to be serious. And then I was like, I'm so serious now. Where am I?
Where am I? And but people don't get that. But that's what I love about writing children's books. That I just have so many. I have some. I won't say them on our interview. I'll say them offline because they're not ready yet. But some of them they're just too much fun to write. And I just can't wait for the next 0 to 5 years because I have so many. I'm so excited. So, yeah.
So how can people support you now? Like, what do we need to do to support you, how can we support you?
Oh, that'd be so great. I just would love people to go to either our Instagram page. My mother, different website. My mother is a superhero. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. If people would love a copy for their classroom, for their teacher, it makes a great book. Almost of all ages. So if you are in a foreign language classroom, a Spanish 1, Spanish 2, even Spanish 3, you can use the book in that classroom. We have lesson plans and things for it like that. If you have a child 0 to 5, it seems to be really popular among the 3 to 7-year-old age group, which is so interesting because I didn't think a 7-year-old would want to read this book anymore. It's so great. Got a workbook that goes along with it. We've got sheets, we've got games. There's so much to go along with it. So if people just want to reach out and just say, hey, I'd like to get a copy, or can I get a sample copy? I'd be happy to send out the link. If they want to hear it read first, I have people think it's odd actually that I'm like, hear it first. I'm like, you still would buy it. You just hear it first so you can see if it moves you. But yeah, that's it. Just just get in contact on Instagram and let's chat and let's get a book. And I want to get as many books in hands as possible. And I really want to promote literacy, likewise.
Well, I definitely need you to send me the information for the schools because I am going to make sure that we can get it into our school, especially for the Spanish one class. Because I think part of what we do is purchase, but we'll have to find some funds somewhere. You know, schools have funds somewhere
I don't want
to buy
right.
books for the students to be able to use. Because the other beautiful thing that I was thinking about when I read it, just like I said, you know, you can see us in everywhere you go, like in so many different countries and places that even when you look at it, right, this can be a representative of a bunch of different communities. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
And that kind of made me excited too, because it was like, you know, this looks like anybody. You know what I mean? It could be somebody from the Latinx community. It could be somebody from the Black community. Like, and because there's so much crossover in that way, that even if it doesn't, because this is my last little soapbox moment, but books are books. And growing up, we can get a book with white faces on it and not think twice. You know what I mean? And it's not a white book.
Finish that statement. I know you're
going. But as soon as someone of color, you know what I mean, is on a cover, it is now a Black book or or whatever.
Still a book.
And it's still a book. And although it has our representation, because we need to see it more. And I think that's what's going to make the change in the industry overall. That if we flood the market with more books of that look like us, then it becomes normal. It's just it becomes a book again, instead of it being a certain book of a certain culture and all those things, and that it's written for a certain type of person. Like, no, it's actually written for everyone who has a mother who thinks that they are a superhero. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of
multicultural families have reached out to me. That's actually who's been my number one buyer, has been parents who are American. Maybe their child is, the father is Mexican, biracial, Black and white, Indian. So the book is in India. I've had one person purchase it from India, which I was so excited, and she reviewed it.
Congratulations!
Yeah, and a wonderful little girl in Canada also bought it on the French side. They bought it and reviewed it, and they loved it. So definitely trying to get it out. But that was one of the things I just wanted. I just wanted the book to have characters of color. I've never once said the book is a Black book. It doesn't even occur to me, but that's how other people take it, right? They assume. When I look at it, I'm like, well, I know this definitely could be a Latina family. It could be a Mexican family. It could be a Dominican family, Cuban family. When I was in Cuba, so my goodness, hello, my people. It could be an African-American family. It could be a Brazilian family. It can be an Indian family. It can be so much. And so I also have, people have purchased who are Caucasian, both parents are Caucasian, and they're just like, we just want our child to have a plethora of books that look like all their friends, that look like everyone. And no one is saying this is a Black character. But if it resonates with you, if you see yourself in the character, then that's what I'm excited about. Is do you see the positivity and the possibility in yourself? So it's funny because people definitely I think when I sent it off to publishers, I think that's what they were like, oh, Black book, Negro writer. It goes in the whole category. Negrita, she goes in this box. We don't want her. Yeah. But I think, if the characters were, lighter skinned, maybe. I mean, she's adorable. And what was funny? Sorry, last thing. So do you see how the young lady has braids and ponytails? I even had some people comment to me on Instagram that little Black girls wouldn't have hair like that. And I said, oh, fools, infidels. You have no idea. Again, this goes back to knowledge and your worldview being open. Every little Black girl doesn't have the same hair.
No.
I know tons of little girls who were.
Because CJ got different hair than I got.
Well, you the reason why I have this hair as it is. And
it's beautiful.
No, I'm trying to be like you. Ever since we met, I said, look at it, Kayla. I looked back at you in a meeting and I said, okay, I see what she's doing there. Yeah, but it's funny because I'm like, it's funny that people will pick that out of the novel. Like that's something just so that you can't open it. Because if you open it, you'll love it. I know you will. But you just want to be silly and pick out goofy things on the front cover. So people, But you know what? This book isn't going anywhere. This book's gonna outlast me, and I can't wait to flood the market along with you and so many other fantastic writers I have met over the last 6 months. Just really changing the face. It's nice to be a part of a movement, because I really do feel like we're a part of a movement. It could be a new renaissance. I'm fascinated with the Harlem Renaissance, and so I'm glad to be part of the LA Renaissance. I don't know what you call it. No idea, but I definitely feel like there's a huge growing community of writers like us, like-minded writers like us, who are like, sorry, English teacher, you probably caught that to me. There's a huge community of people who are like, I don't see the book that I need to see on the shelf, so let me create it. And it's not pandering. It literally is just like, let's be the change that we want to see. And it starts with getting your book out there and overcoming the barriers to getting your book out there, because there are barriers to getting it done.
Yes, there are. Right, exactly. So with that said, we will definitely have to do this again. My wheels were turning of like ways, so we're gonna talk offline once I stop the recording. But thank you so much, CJ, for being with us today. Again, I am Akila Trinae. This is Revision Publishing. Don't you go nowhere. I'm about to stop. Woo.